Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Mahatma Mansa Paribhajagacharya Stakhareshwar Smada Viditam Saraswati Goswami Bhagavad Jai Nanda Gauri Vaishnava Ki Jai Ramacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Names of the whole Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakti Jai Sri Radha Krishna Bho Gopinath Sam Kanda Radha Kanda Giri Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Guru Dwarka Dham Ki Jai Swami Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai All glories to the All glories to the Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Gurudev, and all glories to the Samad Vaishnava devotees. Dear devotees, we thank you for being here again, because today is Friday, our last day of the week, and we are again blessed by the Lord to be in this body and the opportunity to hear about himself and his pure devotees. So we're going to put the verse on the screen and then we may begin. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Sritatmane Shri Guru Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharanya Nirvishesha Sringavadi Paschatya Shattarani. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiret Nashtaprayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtake. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, text number 15. Shvashantarupeshu itarai swarupair Adyaradyamanashu anukampitatma Paravarashu mahat amshaha yukto Iajopi yato bhagavan yatakni Shvasantarupeshu itarai swarupair Adyaradyamanashu anukampitatma Paravarasho mahadam shahayukto Iajopi yato bhagavan yatakni Swashantarupisho etarai swarupair Abhyaradhyamanishu anukampitatma Paravarasho mahadam sahayukto Iajopi yato bhagavan yatakni. Transliterations, word for word translation. Washantasurupeshu, unto the peaceful devotees of the Lord. Etarahi, others, non-devotees. Swarupahi, according to their own modes of nature. Abhyaradhyamaneshu, being harassed by. Anukampita Atma, the all-compassionate Lord. Para avara, spiritual and material. Ishaha, controller. Mahat Amsha Yuktaha, accompanied by the plenary portion of Mahat Tattva. Certainly. Ajaha, the unborn. Api, although. Jataha, is born. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Yata, as Eve. Agnihi, the fire. Translation and purport by Jagat Guru Param Guru A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The personality of Godhead, the all-compassionate controller of both the spiritual and material creations, is unborn. But when there is friction between his peaceful devotees and persons who are in the material modes of nature, he takes birth just like fire, accompanied by the Mahat Tattva. Purport. The devotees of the Lord are by nature peaceful because they have no material hankering. A liberated soul has no hankering, and therefore he has no lamentation. One who wants to possess also laments when he loses his possession. Devotees have no hankerings for material possessions and no hankerings for spiritual salvation. They are situated in the transcendental love and service of the Lord as a matter of duty, and they do not mind where they are or how they have to act. Karmis, jnanis, and yogis all hanker to possess some material or spiritual assets. Karmis want material possessions. Jnanis and yogis want spiritual possessions. But devotees do not want any material or spiritual assets. They want only to serve the Lord anywhere in the material or spiritual worlds that the Lord desires. And the Lord is always specifically compassionate towards such devotees. The karmis, jnanis, and the yogis have their particular mentalities in the modes of nature, and therefore they are called Itara, or non-devotees. These Itaras, including even the yogis, sometimes harass the devotees of the Lord. Dhruva Samuni, a great yogi, harassed Maharaj Ambarish because the latter, that is Ambarish, was a great devotee of the Lord. And the great Karmi and Jnani, Hiranyakashipu, even harassed his own Vaishnava son, Prahlad Maharaj. There are many instances of such harassment of the peaceful devotees of the Lord by the Itaras. When such friction takes place, the Lord, out of his great compassion towards his pure devotees, appears in person, accompanied by his plenary portions, controlling the Mahat Tattva. The Lord is everywhere in both the material and spiritual domains, and he appears for the sake of his devotees when there is friction between his devotee and the non-devotees. As electricity is generated by friction of matter anywhere and everywhere, the Lord, being all-pervading, appears because of the friction of devotees and non-devotees. When Lord Krishna appears on a mission, all his plenary portions accompany him. When he appeared as the son of Vasudeva, there were differences of opinion about his incarnation. Some said he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some said he is an incarnation of Narayan. And others said he is the incarnation of Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. But actually, he, Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. And Narayan, the Purushas, and all other incarnations accompany him to function as different parts of his pastimes. Mahat Amsha Yuktaha indicates that he, Krishna, son of Vasudeva, is accompanied by the Purushas who create the Mahat Tattva. It is confirmed in the Vedic hymns, Mahantam Vibhum Atmanam. Lord Krishna appeared just like electricity when there was friction between Kamsa and Vasudeva and Ugrasena. Vasudeva and Ugrasena were the Lord's devotees, and Kamsa, a representative of the Karmis and Jnanis, was a non-devotee. Krishna, as he is compared to the sun. He first appeared from the ocean of the womb of the Vaki, and gradually he satisfied the inhabitants of the places surrounding Mathura, just as the sun enlivens the lotus flower in the morning. After gradually rising to the meridian of Dwaraka, the Lord set like the sun, playing everything in darkness, as described by Uddhava. Oma Jana Timirandasya Jana Jana Shalakaya Chakshu Anmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakatamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swamin Itinamine Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashtatatmane Shri Gaura Karana Shakti Bhakti Kitat Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Itinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shringavadi Pastacha Deshatarini Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema predayate Krishna ya Krishna chaitanya namni gora tvishi namaha. Nama brahmanya devyago brahmana hitaya cha jagataya Krishna govindaya namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. 3 to 15 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Swashanta rupeshu itarahi swarupayu abhyaradya maneshu anukampitatma para varashu mahat amsa yukto hi agapi yato bhagavan yat agni. And the translation says, the personality of God, the all-compassionate controller of both the spiritual and material creations, is unborn when there is friction between his peaceful devotees and persons who are in the material modes of nature. He takes birth just like fire, accompanied by the Mahat Tattva. Hare Krishna. Well, this is a very interesting verse, and the purport is very, very important and very much telling. Those of us who are trying to serve the Supreme Lord, Lord Krishna, sometimes we are in this organization called ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, trying to serve Guru and Krishna, but actually do not understand what it means to be a devotee in this organization called ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So, Srila Prabhupada is helping us understand the purpose for which we've joined this organization, or for which this organization was established by Srila Prabhupada himself. Srila Prabhupada explains that there are karmis, there are jnanis, there are yogis, and all of these people, they are working for something, for their own self-interest. What they are trying to achieve is either material or even spiritual. And sometimes we think, once you hear something spiritual, you better go for it. But we're learning from Srila Prabhupada in this purport that those who are sincere and truly pure devotees of the Lord, of Lord Shri Krishna, they do not hanker for anything material or anything spiritual that is devoid of rendering direct service to Shri Guru and Krishna. And so there are people who render lots of service to God, but they are looking for something in return for their service rendered to Krishna, to God. So there are karmis who will pray to God. They will fast. Like in devotional service, we have ekadashis that we follow. These ekadashis, actually next week is going to be quite a very busy week. Next week, Monday, is the divine appearance of Lord Shri Krishna. The following day is the divine appearance of Jagat Guru Param Guru A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. That is Tuesday. And then 2 days after that is Ekadashi. So as devotees, we follow Ekadashi. The 11th day of the waxing and the 11th day of the waning moons. And if one is not very careful, these observances of Ekadashi will only be good for karma kanda. In other words, we observe this Ekadashi to take care of some material needs, material expectations, but that shouldn't be the case. That should never be the case, that we observe so-called spiritual rituals or observances just to get something in return from that, to aggrandize our own selves. It's wrong. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the paper that karmis, they work, they serve God just to get something for their own self-interest. And then jnanis and yogis, they also work so hard to serve God, to please God, but they want something in return. What do they want in return? Jnanis just want to acquire so much knowledge that they can go anywhere, everywhere, and speak from the scriptures and prove to people how much they know. But true intelligent people do not care how much one knows. True intelligent people care how much we care for people, not how much we know. Okay? And then we have yogis who also undergo so much severe penances and austerities, so much difficult disciplines, just to get what? Just to become liberated from material encumbrances. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas explained to the world and to us as devotees in particular that where liberation ends is where devotional service begins. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada states that pure devotees of the Lord, they serve the Lord solely by pleasing the Lord. They do not care where the Supreme Lord takes them to. The Supreme Lord may want such devotee to live in this material world to preach. They do not care. The Supreme Lord may want to send this devotee back to the spiritual world. The devotee does not care. Of course, I'm speaking the way I'm speaking because that is what scriptures say. But at my level and at my present situation, my prayer is that the Supreme Lord, the Parampara, and the Vaishnava assembled devotees, please help me to go back home, back to Godhead, and to serve the Lord in the spiritual world, and not to serve the Lord in this material world. But those who are truly pure devotees, they do not care. Whether they are in the spiritual world, they are in the material world, they do not care. Because all they want is to please the Supreme Lord. And if being in the material world is what pleases the Lord, so be it. If being in the spiritual world is what pleases the Lord, so be it. So this is the difference between a bhakta and then a karmi, or a jnani, or a yogi. But as we understand, a bhakta is much more revered by the Supreme Lord than a yogi, than a jnani, and of course, than a karmi. However, being a karmi, being a jnani, being a yogi is not condemned. They are all different stepping stones for a particular soul to get to the level of bhakti. Now, some of us are very fortunate. We are on the platform of bhakti. Therefore, it will be very, very much unwise of us to think and behave as if we are karmis, we are jnanis or yogis. We do not work, we do not serve, we do not chant, we do not fast just to have some material gains from that. Like Sri Prabhupada says in the paper, assets. We do not wake up early in the morning, take a cold shower, and attend Mangarati simply because we want to get out of this material encumbrances and enter into the Brahman effulgence and then sit there and have bliss. But we are doing what they are doing because we want to render service to Krishna. Now, Sri Prabhupada, not Sri Prabhupada, actually it's said in the text that Krishna, he takes birth just like fire. Krishna is been described as Aja. He's unborn. He is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is the origin. He is the cause of all causes. And therefore, no one can be the cause of Krishna. And as such, no one can be the father or the mother of God. But when there is so much friction between the devotees of God and the non-devotees of God, when the Lord sees the trouble and the pain the non-devotees give to his devotees, then out of his causeless mercy and love, the Supreme Lord himself descends just to give peace of mind to his devotees. Because a devotee by nature is very peaceful. Why is the devotee by nature peaceful? Because he does not hanker for any material things or any spiritual things devoid of devotional service to the Lord, and therefore they do not lament. When one hankers for material things, when one hankers for spiritual achievements that is devoid of service to God, then you're going to suffer. And when the suffering comes, you're going to lament. And therefore, the entire material world is a world of hankering and a lamentation. There is nothing to a human being as more painful as losing one's own child. If you lose your child, you can understand how pain actually means and what pain means. But if someone has not given birth to a child, such a person is never going to go through such pain of losing a child. And therefore, when we hanker for something, when we hanker for wealth and we lose the wealth, just like there is this pastime of Haris Chandra, which is going to be celebrated in the next coming Ekadashi. He was the emperor of the entire planet, and he was so rich that it got to a point that he lost all his wealth. He lost his wife, he lost his child, and he had to become a menial servant to a dog eater. But even when Haris Chandra lost all his wealth, everything, he never forgot about Krishna. He never did. And so when Krishna sees that when his devotees are very much harassed by these non-devotees, then it is explained in this text that Krishna appears, or he takes birth, just like fire, accompanied by the Mahatattva. Why is Krishna described as taking birth just like fire? Because fire is already everywhere. There is fire specifically in the wood, especially when there is a dry wood, there is fire in it. But one will not be able to touch the wood and feel the presence of the fire until there is a friction. And so there are devotees who, by science of yoga and with purity, they can bring two woods together and spark fire. They do not need match. They do not need any secondary spark to spark fire from the firewood. So Krishna is already with us, but he is concealed. He cannot be seen. But when there comes a point in time where his devotees are very much harassed, then by such friction of the devotees and non-devotees, Krishna appears. And when Krishna appears, he does not appear by himself. He appears with all his eternal associates, the Mahatattva. The Mahatattva also has its source. And so Srila Prabhupada explains in the paper, when Krishna, we're going to try to delve a little bit deeper into why Krishna appeared and when he appeared and all the pastimes surrounding Krishna's appearance. Next week, Monday, Krishna willing. But for now, we understand that Krishna appeared from the ocean of the heart of Vasudeva and Devaki, being the married couples. But the Devaki's heart is considered to be an ocean of love. And because there was this ocean of love, Krishna appeared from this ocean of love. So there is only one place, only one reason where and why Krishna appears. Krishna appears solely because of love for his devotees. There are other reasons why Krishna appears, but those reasons can be fulfilled by so many aspects of the Godhead. But when the Supreme Lord himself appears, he appears solely because of love for his people, for his devotees. So Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki some 5,000 years ago in this particular earth called, a place called India. So in Mathura, to be specific. So when Krishna appeared as the son of Devaki, so many people, as Srila Prabhupada explains in the paper, say so many different things based on a different opinion. Some say that Krishna is the incarnation of Narayan. Some say Krishna is the incarnation of the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So many people have so many different opinions. But Srila Prabhupada specifically and boldly says that this Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna, is not an incarnation of Narayan. It's not an incarnation of Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. It's not an incarnation of anybody other than he is the Swayam Bhagavan Keshava. He is the origin. He is the source. He is the cause of all causes. So Krishna is the source of Narayan. Narayan is the source of Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. But Krishna is the source of Narayan. Narayan also has his source, and his source is from the Chaturvyuha. And the Chaturvyuha has their source, and their source is from the first Chaturvyuha. The first Chaturvyuha have their sources, and their source is Lord Balaram, as beautifully explained and described by Grace Chitti Shakti when she shared Sri Balaram Jayanti Katha with us. This Balaram also has a source, and his source is Krishna. And Krishna has a source. And what is the source of Krishna? The source of Krishna is Krishna. He's the source of himself. However, whether Krishna is the incarnation of Narayan, the incarnation of Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, or whatever, as long as he is Krishna, we adore him and we worship him. So Krishna, when there was a friction, and the friction between the devotees and non-devotees, then Krishna appeared. We see in our lives also, even though we are not as pure as Vasudeva and Devaki, and therefore Krishna may not appear in person. But once we try in our little humblest attempt to serve Krishna sincerely and honestly, whenever we encounter difficulties, problems, Krishna manifests in the form of his mercy. And somehow or other, someone, somewhere will come into the scene and help the devotee and relieve the devotee of the problems. So this is the promise Krishna has given his devotees. Krishna told Arjuna that Arjuna pronounce this to the entire world that my devotees shall never perish. And Krishna told Arjuna to say this because Arjuna is a pure devotee of the Lord, And whatever the pure devotee of the Lord says becomes a command for the Supreme Lord to honor. The Supreme Lord himself may say something and may decide not to do it because he's not compelled by anybody to do or not do what he wants to do. But when his devotee says something, because the Supreme Lord does not want his devotee to be mocked at, to be laughed at, to appear to be a liar, he always fulfills whatever his devotees say. Therefore, he asked Arjuna to say this to the world, that whoever surrenders to the Lord will never perish. When Krishna says that one will never perish, does not mean that one may not go through some difficulties in his material existence. In fact, we see in our lives and in the lives of others that one may not be going through so much difficulties until one attempts to surrender to God. When one attempts to surrender to God, that is when and where this individual is going to face lots of difficulty. But these are temptations to test the devotee, how dedicated, how faithful, how sincere he is to serving Guru and Krishna. The devotees of the Lord, they are situated in the transcendental love and service of the Lord as a matter of duty. If it is your duty to render something, you do it. You do it without listening to what others are saying. So as devotees, we render service to Krishna as a matter of duty. And because it is as a matter of duty, we are not very much bothered by what people say. Some people may call us this name, that name. We do not care. Devamangal Thakur prayed to the Lord. Some people may call me stupid. Some may call me foolish. Some may call me unintelligent. Some may call me that I've been deceived. Some may call me that I have lost my mind. Some may even laugh at me that I am mad. But my determination to serve the Lord will never be shaken. And this is the conviction we all should try to have for ourselves. Because when we start looking at what others do, what others say, our devotion to God may be weakened. In the African proverb, there is a proverb that if you find a running water, a body of running water, it may be a stream, it may be a river. If you are really thirsty and you want to drink the water, you are not to look at the banks or the sides, the ends of the water bank. Because if you start looking at the water bank and you see all the filth and the nasty things on the bank, you're not going to drink the water. And therefore, for us as devotees, we need to learn how to become very determined in the rendering service to Guru and Krishna, that we do not care what non-devotees say about us. They may call us we've lost our mind. We do not eat meat, fish, egg. They may call us, what is wrong with you? We do not care. We do not chase after beautiful women. They may think we are eunuchs. We do not care. We do not attempt to stake lottery to win the jackpot, to become the most rich person on earth. We do not care. We do not take intoxicants to get high. And some people may think that we've lost our sense of touch. We do not care. All we care about is to render service to Guru and Krishna. But devotees, real devotees of the Lord, are very, very compassionate. Very, very compassionate. And because they are compassionate, they will go any length, any breadth to give relief to these non-devotees. Srila Prabhupada gave a very crude and a very wonderful example in his purport about Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni, as we understand, is an incarnation or partial incarnation of Lord Shiva. So he's not an ordinary living entity. It's a Shiva Tattva. It's not an ordinary Jiva Tattva like me or any ordinary individual. But this Durvasa Muni attempted to harass a pure devotee of the Lord, Ambarish Maharaj. And we all know what happened. Durvasa Muni was punished by the Sudarshan Chakra of the Supreme Lord, up to the point that Durvasa had nobody to go to pray for forgiveness, but to go to Ambarish Maharaj to beg for forgiveness. And what did Ambarish Maharaj do? Ambarish Maharaj forgave him, because that is the heart of a devotee. And therefore, if someone calls himself a devotee of the Lord, not just ordinary a devotee of the Lord, but he calls himself a pure devotee of the Lord and hold on to grudges, such a devotee is not in the first place a devotee. What to speak of a pure devotee? Devotees who bear grudges and hold grudges are non-devotees. They are useless people hiding behind the garb of being devotees. Devotees may say, this devotee said this about me. This devotee said this to me. I'm not going to talk to this devotee anymore. I don't even want to see him. And sometimes we even wish him dead. What is this nonsense? If we are not ready to become devotees, there are so many other avenues that we can find ourselves in and do whatever we want to do. But as long as we have decided to become bhaktis, practicing bhakti, which is devoid of karma, jnana, yoga, we have to think twice. We have to understand what we have taken upon ourselves. If a police officer does not know what he has involved himself in as a peace officer, and therefore his responsibility is to make sure that peace reigns in his community, then he may be wearing the uniform as a police officer and may not be able to perform as a police officer because he cannot keep peace. And therefore, putting on kantimala, putting on tilak, putting on a dhoti and a chanting japa and calling ourselves devotees of the Lord, if we do not understand what it means to be devotees of the Lord, then we cannot behave as devotees of the Lord. A devotee of Lord Krishna is very compassionate. Durvasa attacked Ambarish Maharaj. What did Ambarish Maharaj do? Srila Prabhupada gave another example, a Kami and a Jnani a person called Hiranyakashipu. He gave so much harassment to his own biological son. And when the Supreme Lord dealt with Hiranyakashipu, what did Sri Prahlad Maharaj do? He prayed for the forgiveness and the liberation of his sick, demonic, heartless Father Hiranyakashipu. So if someone calls himself he's a devotee of God, a devotee of Krishna, and does not want to talk to another person, for what reason? Because somebody did not give me respect. A devotee does not seek respect for himself. The disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they worshipped Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada did not ask them, I am the Guru, come and worship me. He never said that. But by his behavior, his love, the devotees understood that the Guru ought to be worshipped. And this person we are relating with is a Guru, and therefore we have to worship him. And that is how the worship of Srila Prabhupada began. The history is there for us all to read and to hear. And so when one claims that he is this, he's that, and he is asking everybody to give him worship, in the first place, he is not qualified to be worshipped. Lord Jesus Christ never asked anybody to worship him, but by his lifestyle, those who were intelligent understood that he ought to be worshipped. So pure devotees of the Lord do not do anything to aggrandize themselves. They do anything, everything, just to please the Lord. But if someone is intelligent, one would understand that when we are hungry, we have to eat. And in order for us to eat, we have to prepare a meal. When we're cooking, there are certain biological enzymes in our body created by the intelligent and the most intellectual Lord Brahma in our body. There is something, an organ in our body called the pancreas. And this pancreas produces juice called pancreatic juice. As long as you start cooking, and more especially when the cooking is coming to completion and you start smelling the flavor of the food that you're cooking, this pancreas releases the pancreatic juice. This pancreatic juice is kind of acidic and it helps digest food. And so the pancreas releases this pancreatic juice and you have the appetite that you want to eat. And even before you eat, digestion already takes place. Why? Because you are cooking and you are smelling the food. And so once we render service to Guru and Krishna, even before we attain salvation, the loving sentiment that we have to serving Guru and Krishna, that sense of love, the satisfaction of rendering service to Krishna, which is love, we will start experiencing love of God. And so even though we are not pure devotees, but as long as there is the desire to selflessly, this is very important, selflessly render service to Guru and Krishna, love of Godhead will immediately manifest in our hearts. And because there is such little manifestation of love of Godhead, we keep on. Even in the face of hard struggles, when sometimes it appears that there is no help coming from nowhere, we never give up. We still keep on serving Krishna and the devotees. We know that it's just a matter of time. That true love of Godhead will be manifest. And we will experience it. So Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice purport. Let me see if I can find it here. In Bhagavad Gita. Yes, I found it. Bhagavad Gita chapter 1. the very first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text 28, says Arjuna Uvacha, Drishtve mam swa jnanam Krishna yuyutsum samupashtitam siddhanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishishyati. And the translation, Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a frightened spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. So we are all very much familiar with the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And we are familiar with Arjuna. Arjuna is a Kshatriya. He's a warrior. He's not scared of fighting. But this is what Arjuna is saying. My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a frightened spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. So one may think that Arjuna is fearful. That is why his body is quivering and his mouth is drying up, because he does not want to fight. Out of fear for his friends, out of fear of his friends and relatives. But in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, no, that is not the case. Srila Prabhupada says that this overwhelmed a kind devotee like Arjuna, although it is not mentioned here, still one can easily imagine that not only were Arjuna's bodily limbs quivering and his mouth drying up, but he was also crying out of compassion. Such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but to his soft-heartedness, a characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord. It is said, therefore, Yashyasti Bhaktir Bhagavati Akinchana Sarvai Gunaistatra Samashate Suraha Harav Abhyaktasya Kuto Mahatguna Mano Ratnashati Dabato Bahi. One who has unflinching devotion for the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods, but one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18, text number 12. But what Srila Prabhupada is saying here is that Arjuna, as far as, let's begin from here, as far as his soldiers were concerned, he was sympathetic from the beginning, but he felt compassion even for the soldiers of the opposite party, foreseeing their imminent death. And while he was so thinking, the limbs of his body began to quiver and his mouth became dry. He was more or less astonished to see their fighting spirit. Practically, the whole community, all blood relatives of Arjuna, had come to fight with him. This overwhelmed a kind devotee like Arjuna. So this is very practical to what we are reading today, that those who are real devotees of the Lord, they always have lamentation. They pity those who are non-devotees who want to be aggressive at the devotees of the Lord. And so one should not mistake Arjuna's quivering bodily symptoms and the drying of his mouth to be a sign of weakness. A devotee is fearless. A devotee is ready to do anything and everything for Guru and Krishna. Why? Because he does not really care for himself, in as much as whatever he or she is doing is going to please the Lord. And so left to Arjun alone, Arjun would never have fought his relatives. But because the Supreme Lord willed it, Arjun had to do it. And therefore, if someone calls himself a devotee of the Lord and he holds grudges, not having pity for those who are trying to fight him, he's not yet a devotee. And there are many of such of us in the garb of Vaishnava. We pretend as if we are devotees, but we are not. But because most of us are not advanced and we are unable to tell. I'm going to ask this question to His Grace Ishwara Prabhu. Krishna is so beautiful and is so loving that once one tastes Krishna and sees Krishna, nothing else will be more attractive to him than Krishna, or as much as Krishna. So how come that somebody may be a brahmachari, may be a sannyasi, may be a guru, and then the assumption is that this person has seen Krishna, he has tasted Krishna, and then he falls to illicit sexual behavior. Not illicit, illicit sexual behavior. And like Prabhuji said, because most of us are not advanced ourselves, and it takes an advanced soul to recognize who's an advanced soul, we see bodily external symptoms. This person is doing this person is doing that, and we think this person is advanced. And then boom, he falls. And so there are many of us who claim to be devotees that are not devotees. Nevertheless, we do not have to give up, because by such pursuance, constant practice, constant eager to become devotees, by the mercies of the Lord and the devotees of the Lord, one day we will become self-realized, pure devotees of the Lord, and will no more give problems, difficulties to the devotees of the Lord. Because we should remember, when we become inimical towards the devotees, then the Supreme Lord himself will come and punish us. But that is not what we want. I had suggested to myself some time ago that since Kamsa, Hiranyakashipu, all these demons were able to have Krishna come directly in contact with them and relate with them, whether it's good or bad, but just having Krishna relate with them, maybe I become a demon. Then I realized that it takes very special demons to attract Krishna. And I may not be in the position to become one of such great demons. So why don't I try to become a simple devotee of the Lord? Because by becoming a simple devotee of the Lord, and by the mercies of the assembled Vaishnava devotees and the Guru, I may one day become a pure devotee. And we all should aspire to become pure devotees. We all should aspire to become pure devotees. We should not become settled just being devotees. No. Being a devotee is okay, but we do not just want to be devotees. We want to be pure devotees of the Lord. And we have every opportunity to become pure devotees of the Lord in this very particular lifetime, if we so choose to become. Hare Krishna. With that, I will ask if devotees have questions, comments, realizations that they may want to ask or share. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Madhava Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Oh, glory unto your little feet.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
I wish I had a lotus feet. I have feet, but I don't have a lotus feet. But one day, I'm not going to take it away. One day, my feet may become lotus. Thank you so much, Brother B.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for taking it up today. And we are very appreciative for your efforts for this program and then keeping it on. And I also appreciate how you have been inviting very important devotees, wonderful devotees, and we have been enjoying this program. So my idea of following this program is for the fact that when they say Hare Krishna Africa, so I believe I'm an African person, and therefore I should show up so that they can know that in Africa also we have some devotees or people who are trying to be devotees. So thank you very much. The take home for today, when you now say that we don't just have to be a devotee, or we should try and be a pure devotee. So I have to understand that some of us just want to be devotee. You know, we associate. Sometimes we even stay in the temple. We say prasad and so on and so forth. But some of us don't want to be, we just want to be a devotee. That's okay. So, but others who really want to be a pure devotee, so there used to be clashes. Because somebody who is aspiring to be a pure devotee is not going to be very comfortable when somebody is just a devotee, but is not prepared to follow the rules and regulations. For instance, you want to stay in the temple, but you are not waking up for the Mangarati. You know, it's like somebody is just taking advantage of something. So usually like that, there used to be some friction. How can you be in the temple? After all, it's not compulsory for you to be in the temple. You can be in your house. But stay in the temple, you know, the temple has a purpose where it is established and what it's supposed to achieve. So when you now mention that we don't just have to be devotee, but we have to aspire to be pure devotee, I believe you are very correct. And that's how I now saw the situation. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Madhavan Prabhu. Well, I said that as an inspiration, I always get from His Holiness Bhakti Charadishna Swami Maharaj. Because this particular Maharaj, each and every single time he speaks, he puts a lot of emphasis on becoming pure devotees. See, when we become satisfied with just who we are, we don't progress. It says lust, anger, greed. These are the three gateways to hell. But if one does not have these three things also, that is also going to impede our progress in spiritual life. Lust will lead one to hell. But the motivation that comes with lust, if it is geared towards Krishna, is very favorable. Anger is very dangerous. Medically, anger produces lots of diseases. We know that medically. But the same anger is needed, because when you get angry, you will realize that you have some special strength that you never knew. And you may need that strength to render the particular service to Guru and Krishna. And so we see in the life of Hanuman, He used anger to serve Krishna. And then greed, until we become greedy for Krishna's mercy and Krishna's service, we're not going to make any positive progress in our spiritual life. A greedy person is never satisfied with whatever you offer him. And that is what we should become. We should never become satisfied with whatever service we are rendering to Krishna. We should try to see how we can increase it more. I was very much shocked those days. Today, I'm not shocked at it, but I was very much shocked when I heard my Gurudev say that he does not want to be the same person. He does not want to be who he was last year. This year, he wants to be better than who he was last year. And I was thinking to myself, how high can you go, Maharaj? But the sky is the limit and the ocean is the depth. So real devotees of the Lord do not become complacent. And therefore, we should always become eager to do more and more. And like you were rightly saying, if someone decides to live in the temple and does not want to follow the rules and the etiquettes living in the temple, then why are you there in the first place? Nobody is forcing you to live in the temple. The temple is not a motel to hide in there and eat and sleep and have a jolly. So if someone is living in the temple and is not following what is expected of him, that is the problem coming from the temple president, the leadership of that particular temple. If the leader of that temple is strictly following the tenets of living temple life, that will encourage the other devotees to do the same. But if you're a temple president and you wake up and you hide in your corner just reading books and don't do anything, how is that going to encourage other devotees to do what is supposed to be done, living a temple life? So we all know when a fish starts rotting, it starts rotting from the head. So if there is any nonsense going on in society, in the temple, in the community, it begins with the head. So if the head is rotten, the entire body of the fish will get rotten also. So the head is very important. That is why we give so much respect to the head. If you have a head and you do not respect the head, then you are very unfortunate. And therefore, to one whom much is given, much is also expected. So if you are the head and you're giving all the accolades, you're getting all the glories, and you're not behaving as the head, then you have to be thrown out. Srila Prabhupada says that a headless body is a dead body. So if you have a community, you have an organization, you have a society, and there is no head, that society, organization, community is dead. But if you have a head and the brain is gone bad, it means they are mad. So we may have heads, but we should ask ourselves, is the brain working? If the brain is not working, then we have to try to get them good brain. There was one class I listened. I wasn't a class, it was Hridananda Das Goswami Maharaj. He was having an interview, one guy who used to call himself, during those days when people used to think that Hare Krishna, once you join Hare Krishna, they're going to change your mind, they're going to brainwash you. So we do not brainwash anybody. In the first place, we have to make sure that you have brain. So we give brain to people. That is what Hare Krishna does. We are brain givers. So many people have no brains. Having brains means you are capable of understanding who you are, why you are here, what you're supposed to be doing, and where you are going. Why is it that you do not want to grow old, you do not want to get sick? But we're going to grow old, we're going to get sick. People have no brain to think about this important thing. But that is the duty of Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna gives people the brain to think. And once you think and you understand what is supposed to be done, then you start doing it. So if the head is there, but has no brain to exemplify what devotional service means and how it's supposed to be done, then you can't expect the rest of the body to do any better. So that is a challenge we have. And we all should try to be heads and be examples to the world. Hare Krishna, thank you, Madhavan Prabhu. Bhakta Hassan, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Your Grace.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Andre, accept my humble respect of essences.
Right.
All glory to Gurudev, all glory to Sri Prabhupada, and all glory to the beautiful Assembled devotees. Your Grace, I have a question, and I want to start it in this way. For instance, if you come to Islam, Prophet Muhammad, he was a kind of person. It is said that there was this woman who was throwing garbage at him. Every day when he passed by, this woman was throwing garbage at him, but he didn't say anything. And one day when he was passing by, the woman was not there. And he said, where is this woman who always throw garbage at me? And he went to look for the woman. When she went there, the woman was very sick. So he went there to pray for the woman. And she said that, always you throw garbage at me, but today I didn't see you. So I come and look for you. So he prayed for the woman. And the woman changes become God consciousness. He did this because he is a Nitya Siddha, if I'm using the right word. And when he was asked that when you die, where are you going? He said, I don't know where I'm going. It's in Krishna's hands where I'm going. And because he's a Nitya Siddha. Sri Prabhupada, his God brothers stand against him. They try to do many things against him. But he still asks them for forgiveness because he's a Nitya Siddha. Lord Jesus Christ, when he was crucified, they do many things to him just because he was preaching God consciousness. But still tell Krishna, forgive them because they don't know what they are doing. So my question is, me being like a neophyte devotee, I'm not mature, I'm still crawling. And we said we have to control our senses and we have to tolerate other devotees when they do wrong to us, and whatever they do to us, we have to tolerate them. But sometimes when there's a devotee, maybe all he do was to offend you or do something which is not right. One way or another, you being a woman, you talk about it or you feel it. And because of the love you have for Krishna consciousness, if somebody was doing something wrong or doing offenses, you'll feel bad that maybe like he will people will talk bad about Krishna consciousness. So, and it is said that if somebody offends you and you don't forgive the person, or the person continue to offend you, this can even bring you back to this material world for him to pay this karma. So my question is it right if somebody was offending you, do you still have to continue keep association with this person? And for the person continue to offend you, do you still have to tolerate this person when in your very heart you know that this person is causing me offenses? And again, if somebody was doing something which, as a normal human being, you know this, what the person is doing is not right, you will talk about it. Maybe you will not talk to him, but you will talk about it. So is it offense to talk about that, not because you hate the person or you are just blaspheming about the person, or because you are feeling that because of the love you have for the person, you need to talk about it, like why is this going on, or why is this happening? So if you do that, is it offense to the person? This is the two questions I want to ask. I hope you get my question.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you, Dasa, question. Well, there are other devotees here who might also shed more light to your beautiful question. I do not like to use the word offense so lightly or so easily. Because in the first place, if I say someone offended me, it means that I see myself as a very special person, that somebody or that person should not have talked to me the way he talked. That person should not have said what he said to me, because I am greater, I'm better than that individual, and therefore the person is offending me. So I do not use offense so lightly and so commonly. But, excuse me, there was a time when one devotee told His Grace Srivas Vanachari, because he was my leader then, and of course still my leader today too. But those days I was serving directly under him. And this devotee went and told Srivas Vanachari that I am able to make good book distribution because I have lots of girlfriends. Friend with S, friends, not friend. And so I go out, I distribute books, and these ladies, they give me money. Wow. So I saw His Grace Srivas Vanachari called me and told me about this. And I asked, who told you this? So he mentioned the name of the devotee who said that. And I said, well, that is not true. But since then, I distanced myself from this particular devotee. I wasn't like cracking jokes with him as we used to. I wasn't like sharing prashadam and things like that with him like we used to. So this devotee saw the difference in our relationship and went and reported back to his great Srivastvanachari that I'm no more relating with him nicely anymore. So his great Srivastvanachari called me and chastised me. And see, most of you do not know me. And I do not want this class to be about myself. But I've always been like this. Even in those days, I challenged his great Srivastvanachari. I said, excuse my language, why are you scolding me? Why are you scolding me for not being friendly with this person? After all, in the devotional service, it is said that no one is your friend, no one is your enemy. So why do you say I should forcibly make this person my friend? I find him to be toxic, and there is no reason for me to be too close to him. I do not see him as an enemy. I do not see him as offending me, but I see him to be somebody that I have to give him some space. So he does not see what is seen about me and be making statements that are false. It's not good for him. I didn't care because I knew what he was saying about me was not right. So we are human beings. So therefore, if somebody is saying or doing something to us which is improper, we have to remove ourselves from such position in such a way that that person can no more do same things to us again. Or if we are going to be in the same position, we have to address that particular individual why we said or did what we said or did. We have to explain to him and help educate that individual. But we should not see that person as an enemy. It's very beautiful you give this example of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, I am not going to say that somebody throws garbage on me and I want that person to be throwing garbage on me all the time. No, I'm not going to do that. Nevertheless, I am praying and learning that if somebody does something hurtful to me, I do not curse that particular individual. I do not wish evil on that individual, but I pray and I also, if I can, behave or talk to that individual to change his way of thinking that led him to misbehave or behave the way he did. This is the system, this is the science, this is the practice given us by our acharyas, that we do not take the ills or the mistakes of others to heart and hold on to it so long as to prevent or create barriers between us and that particular individual. Devotees do not create barriers. Devotees create bridges. We connect to people. We connect with people to make sure that what was done wrong is corrected. And sometimes, just as it is said, sometimes distancing yourself from a situation, from an environment, is the best action one may be able to take. And so, a devotee should not take offense so lightly, because in the first place, a true devotee considers and really understands himself to be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. So if you are the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, and your master is telling you something, how are you going to say that? Who are you to tell me what you're telling me? But because we are human beings, we have feelings. Even when we have a master, and the master says something that is a bit harsh to us, according to our estimation, we accept it, we evaluate it, and if it's not so comfortable for us, we respectfully go to our master, and then we speak to our master. See, Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna consciousness is not an imposition, but it comes out of the heart, out of love. So like Madhavan Prabhu was saying, there is no imposition for anybody to live in the temple. If one lives in the temple, he has understood what it's comprised of being a temple devotee. And until one is prepared to live by such precepts, there is no need to live in the temple. If one understands what it means to be a devotee, then you try to become a devotee. If you understand what it means to become a devotee, and if you're not ready, don't become a devotee. But as long as you try to remain a devotee, it means that you are Tita Pavana. You are never happy when you find somebody suffering. Anytime you find somebody suffering, regardless of who that person is, you suffer the pain of that person's suffering. That is a devotee. So if we do not have the heart, we do not have the mind to relieve others of their problems, of their difficulties, then we haven't really understood being a devotee. And we haven't really started being devotees. So a devotee goes beyond race, sex, religion. Sometimes somebody will say, I only help those who are Hare Krishna devotees. That is crazy. That is crazy. That is not what Srila Prabhupada sent to us. Srila Prabhupada was on a japa walk with his disciples, and they saw one person's yard. The pipe was turned on and the water was being wasted. What did Srila Prabhupada? Srila Prabhupada himself walked and shut the pipe off. One, the person is wasting Krishna's energy, which is water. Two, the person is incurring unnecessary monthly bill of water bill. So as a devotee, you see this person is going to waste so much money. Let me help him. This person is wasting Krishna's property. Let me help him. You call yourself a devotee and you see Krishna's property being wasted and you sit idle. What sort of devotee are you? You're just a crazy person hiding behind the garb of Vaishnav and calling yourself a devotee. Meanwhile, if you lived in your own house and you saw your own house being dirty or part of your house having problem, you try to renovate. If it's Krishna's, you care less, you don't care. So how do you call yourself a devotee? So we should be mindful of such things. It's not so difficult to understand. But if we think that because this person is the head and this person says this, it's all in all, then it means we are not maturing. It means we are not maturing because there are so many historical evidences to prove when and where leaders asked their followers to do something which was very, very, excuse my language, crazy and led to the destruction of the entire community. Hitler was the leader. He asked his followers to do one particular thing, and they stupidly followed him because he's the leader. And what happened? It led to Second World War. So we follow leaders because they are representing and they're representing the truth. If a leader is not representing the truth, he's not a leader. And if you are a follower and you follow such a leader, it means you yourself, you are nonsense. His Holiness Bhaktivinoda Swami Maharaj gives this pastime that one time there was one Bhakta Steve. He had not taken initiation. He was coming to the New York temple. But the devotees did not treat this Bhakta so nicely because he was a Bhakta. And they treated him so harshly up to the point that when he left the temple, he was disturbed. And he was thinking to himself, these are devotees of God. They're supposed to be helping me. They're not helping me. He committed suicide. And so Sri Prabhupada once came back to New York and he did not find Bhakta Steve. So he asked, where is that Bhakta that used to come regularly when I used to come here? And they told him, oh, Sri Prabhupada, he committed suicide. And per the description of His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, says, Sri Prabhupada became very grave. And he gave a very deep sigh and said, that is very unfortunate. Whenever we have somebody come into our fold, Krishna has brought that person to us to protect, to guide, and to guard, and to help that particular person flourish in becoming a devotee. And so Srila Prabhupada was praying to Krishna for forgiveness that, Lord Krishna, please forgive me that I could not keep this soul. And he prayed that wherever this soul is, I pray to you, Lord Shri Krishna, please find this soul and make him your devotee. This is the heart of a devotee. This is the heart of a devotee. He was a bhakta. He had not taken initiation. He probably wasn't even following the regulative principles. But this is the heart of Srila Prabhupada. That we all should try to emulate. Not, I am this, I am that. Why didn't you do this for me? How dare you say this to me? We do not fight for ourselves. If Madhuvan says something harsh to me, and everybody here believes that what Madhuvan said to me was so harsh, I do not have to defend myself. All of you here would have to understand that what Madhuvan said to me was harsh, and then you address Madhuvan. Oh, Madhuvan, I think you could have said it this way. I do not have to fight for myself. That is the ideal world. That is the Vaishnava spirit. A Vaishnava is prepared to be killed. But a Vaishnava is also prepared to kill others if someone is offended others, if someone is mistreated others. Well, I will end here if someone has something to share. Otherwise, we'll bring this to a close. But thank you for your questions and thank you for your participation. Like I said, today is Friday, the last day of the week. Next week, we begin Monday. Monday is Krishna Janmashtami. In our hearts, in our minds, we should prepare to receiving the Supreme Lord. That means everybody should clean up, tidy up their surroundings. If you live in the temple, you tidy up the temple. If you live in your own house, you tidy up your house because the Supreme Lord is appearing. The Supreme Lord is coming. This is the external. And then internally, in our hearts and in our minds, we should throw away all the garbage that we have in our hearts, in our mind, because the Supreme Lord is coming. And with such cleansing, we might be able to receive the Supreme Lord and offer him a seat to sit in the hearts of our hearts. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Your Grace. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you too, brother. So with that being said, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to the Supreme Lord for giving us the opportunity to somehow get access to his devotional service in this lifetime, because with this devotional service, we are guaranteed to become devotees of the Lord. And if the Lord so desires that we stay in this material world to serve him, or go back to the spiritual world to serve him, he himself will give us the knowledge and the strength and the love to render such service unto him and his devotees. Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
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 Rama,
Rama, Hare
Ram Ram,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vancha kalpatarubyascha kripa sindhubhaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo.
Antapati Vaishnavi Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
All brothers to Krishna.